The story begins as we meet a boy named Haru, who shut himself in after being bullied in high school. He stayed in his room for years, but one day, he is suddenly reincarnated by a goddess. Haru realizes he must have died, and the goddess tells him he will be reincarnated into a new world filled with magic, and she will give him overpowered skills to help him in his new life. She tells him to enjoy his second chance at life, and Haru just wants to be able to live a quiet and easy life, wanting to be able to just watch anime and play games all day long. The goddess reincarnates him, and he thinks he will be able to use his overpowered skills to help him live a lazy life. He finds himself reincarnated as a baby, and he turns out to be the son of the king. He is born with the royal insignia on his body, and the king is excited to see how strong he is, so he has his advisor perform a magical assessment. His crystal ball glows as it examines Haru's power, and the king thinks he should be at least level 40, because his mother was the hero who defeated the demon king. But it turns out to only be level 2, and his advisor notes he also has no elements, so he can only use barrier magic. The king can't believe this, wondering how they could have such a useless son, and they think it would be a problem if other people found out. So they both come up with the idea to say he died during childbirth. Haru can't believe he is going to die after he was just reincarnated, and the king orders for him to be disposed of in a faraway forest. The goddess panics seeing this, and she realizes she messed up, because she actually made Haru's power level 1002, but the measuring devices in that world don't go up that high, so they don't realize how strong he is, and she forgot to give him an element. Haru finds himself abandoned in a forest, and he can't do anything since he is just a baby. He thinks about how they mentioned he can use barrier magic, so he decides to give it a go. He imagines it in his mind, and he manages to form a cube. He finds it easy to control, easily changing its size and its form. He tries using it on himself, and it allows him to float in the air. But at that moment, a giant wolf suddenly appears. Haru starts freaking out, but he is protected by his barrier. He summons a bunch of other barriers, launching them at the wolf, but it doesn't do any damage. He thinks about attacking with something bigger, so he uses his barriers to pick up trees, and he uses them to attack the wolf. The wolf is still able to get up, so he decides to go even bigger, picking up an enormous chunk of the ground. He prepares to squash the wolf. The wolf cries out, and Haru realizes the wolf can talk. The wolf can't believe how strong he is, thinking he isn't normal. Haru struggles to talk, but he gets an idea, and uses a barrier that turns his thoughts into sound. He manages to talk, and the wolf wants to know more about him. Haru introduces himself, and says he was abandoned because his mana level was too low, but the wolf doesn't believe this, because it can sense his overwhelming power, and it thinks he is the reincarnation of the demon king. Haru decides to play along, and the wolf instantly believes him. It admits defeat, and tells him to just finish her off, but Haru says it's not necessary, as long as she doesn't attack him again. She can't believe he is so merciful, and she swears on her name as a flame Fenrir to keep this promise. Haru bids her farewell, calling her Flay, but the wolf sees this as being given a name, so she claims they have formed a pact, and she swears her loyalty to him. Haru explains he just shortened her name, and wasn't trying to form any pact, but Flay doesn't listen to him. Haru suddenly becomes weak, and he falls to the ground. Flay wonders what's wrong, and it turns out he requires sustenance. He says he needs milk, and Flay ends up transforming into a human form. Haru is embarrassed seeing her naked, so she puts on a suit, but Haru thinks it's just as bad. Flay prepares to give him her milk, but it turns out she doesn't have any. She suddenly hears someone approaching, wondering if she should take them out, but Haru says they should try talking to them first. A man approaches them, and Flay asks him why he is there. The man says he is there for Haru, but Flay refuses to hand him over. The man wonders about their relationship, and Flay tells him Haru is her master. The man claims to be Haru's relative, and that he is there to save him. He reveals he even brought milk, and Haru tells Flay to accept it, but she doesn't listen to him. She wonders why he is coming back for something they threw away. The man claims his wife was once pregnant, but the child didn't make it. So he doesn't care that Haru was abandoned for being weak, and he thinks that every child should have the chance to have a life. Flay is moved hearing this, and the man finds it strange to see a demon crying. They come to a deal, and the man decides to take her in as well, so she can stay by Haru's side. The man leaves behind evidence, and he makes it seem like Haru was killed. After 9 years, Haru has grown up, living with his new family. He had originally hoped to leave after being weaned off milk, but they were so kind to him that he ended up staying. But his only problem is that his sister Charlotte doesn't get along with him. Flay serves as their maid, and Charlotte seems to like her, asking her to play. Flay says her job is to look after Haru, but Haru orders her to play, so they go outside and Charlotte chases after her. Haru watches them from inside, and his mother tells him not to let it get to him, saying Charlotte is just at the age where she doesn't know how to act around boys. Haru worries the reason is because Charlotte can tell he is actually almost 30, so she can sense he is an old man. His mother thinks he should do something special to show how reliable he is, thinking she will change her mind, but Haru thinks he is no good in social situations. She says that as their heir, he should get out more instead of always spending his time in his room. Haru heads back to his room, and he thinks he should leave before his parents start demanding more from him, but he thinks Charlotte would hate him even more if he took Flay away, and he knows that Flay would never agree to stay behind. We see he has created a clone of himself using his barrier magic, so he can one day replace himself, but he hasn't been able to make it move or talk. His father knocks on his door, and they go out to the yard where his father wants to start teaching him how to use the sword. He isn't interested in learning, but his father tells him that since he has such low levels of mana, he should develop his other skills. Haru wants to just relax, but his father insists he gives it a go. Haru knows his father is an experienced warrior, so he thinks he doesn't stand a chance. He casts his barrier to protect himself, and he charges at his father, even breaking his sword. His father is shocked seeing the damage he caused, and he tells Haru to try and avoid his attack. He swings at him, but Haru manages to dodge it. His father can't believe this, and he says it should have been impossible for anyone under level 30 to dodge, and Haru also finds this strange. We learn that he tried checking his power with an even stronger crystal ball, thinking he could have a level in the hundreds, but it still ended up only showing 2, and he thinks it would be impossible to have a level in the 4 digits, because the highest level in all of humanity was only level 77, so he wonders what's his overpowered skill that the goddess gave to him. Later that night, Haru's father tells his wife about the sword training session, but he is concerned that Haru could be a demon. His wife is shocked hearing this, and he mentions that there are secret records where the royal family bred with demons, and there were some who were born with demonic traits. His wife thinks Haru looks just like a normal boy, but they consider why a demon such as Flay is so obedient to him. However, he assures his wife that Haru is still their son, and that he will have a happy life. But Charlotte is shocked hearing her brother could be